welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking a look at a puzzle from a new constructor to the channel, by the name of Pietato. And this is called Shady X, which I guess is a reference to the fact I can see a big X in the grid. And shady, is this a colouring puzzle? I suspect it might be. I don't know how difficult it is though, but I do know that it's been getting some rave reviews over on our Discord server, so I know that Codec really enjoyed it and Clover really enjoyed it. So you hear that and you just know you're in for a quality experience. So I'll read you the rules of this one in just a moment. We'll start with some sad news today though. Maki Kaji, a name I know will be familiar to some of you, as basically the founder of Nikoli magazine in Japan, has unfortunately just died. Now, the other thing you might not know about Maki Kaji is that he's essentially the person who popularised Sudoku in the world. He spotted its potential. I mean, he may even have invented it. He's a real, I suppose, well, he's known as the Godfather of Sudoku, with good reason, and he's also a sort of personal hero of mine, because no matter what the pressure, he always insisted that Nikoli puzzles had to be handcrafted, and as they remain to this day. And you know what I think about handcrafted puzzles and handcrafted content. We talk about it all the time on Cracking the Cryptic. But Maki Kaji, he understood where brilliant puzzles were and what was at their heart. And it's a sad day. He was only 69 years old, and well, the legacy he leaves, the amount of pleasure that he's given people is, well, it's close to unquantifiable. If you think about how many people enjoy Sudoku on the planet, it really is extraordinary. So I hope, well, I wish all the best, obviously, to his friends and family, and the legacy he leaves is an incredible one. Now, on to, I suppose, less sober topics. It feels very difficult actually to just shift gears. Let me think about what else I want to say before I read you the rules to this one. Let's talk about The Witness. I'm going to be trying to live stream that later on tonight, so 10 o'clock UK time. I'm still planning to go ahead with that. Mark and I have had a busy day today. Believe it or not, we've had the ITN News filming me this afternoon for a piece, I hope, on the 10 o'clock news this evening. And Mark, I know, has been speaking to BBC Radio as well, with lots of people wanting to know more about Maki Kaji and what he was all about. But yeah, we're going to try and go ahead with the live stream tonight. Anything else to mention? I've received Fistimafel's puzzles for the new Kropki XV app. They have arrived in my inbox. I haven't tried them yet, but I mean, we know they're going to be brilliant. And actually, I've been missing Fistimafel. He seems to have been taking a bit of a puzzle holiday for the last couple of months. But now I have some new ones to try. So this is all good stuff. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there, and let's get on with this puzzle. So what are the rules? We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits cannot repeat on either of the main diagonals marked in blue. So that means on this diagonal, for example, the positive diagonal, I have learnt this. Why is it called the positive diagonal? Well, you have to think about graphs. You know, if this was y and this was x and you plotted this line, it would have a positive gradient. This would have a negative gradient, which is why it's known as the negative diagonal. Anyway, don't repeat a digit along those outlined blue squares. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage if given. Oh, right. Okay, look. Right, that's a bit of a joke cage, I suspect. Let me just... Yes, okay. This is a joke cage, because what does this cage do? Given that digits cannot repeat within a cage in Killer Sudoku, what does this this domino being caged add to the logic in the puzzle? The answer is nothing. We already knew those digits couldn't be the same. There's no given total, so they have no effect other than, of course, to preserve the rather beautiful symmetry that exists around the positive diagonal. I can now see that if I was to fold the Sudoku in around this diagonal, I think I'm right in saying that all of the cages would exactly map to each other, which is rather gorgeous. So although the totals might not be the same, the actual shapes of the cages are the same. So yeah, it's a beautiful construction, and I suspect that's why that cage is there. So do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And my eyes are drawn straight away to that sequence of digits, because in fact that exists, I see, in symmetrical terms there as well. So if we add up these two cages, we get 11 in 4 cells. Now there is only one way of making 4 cells add up to 11 if you can't repeat a digit, and that of course is 1, 2, 3 and 5. And you can't put 5 in a 5 cage. There's a knowledge bomb for you from cracking the cryptic. So the 5 must live in the 6 cage and must be 1, 5, and therefore that one is 2, 3, and that presumably goes down there as well. Now we've got a 1, 5 pair on the negative diagonal. Not sure if I can do anything with that. Oh, I forgot to turn my phone on to silent. I've been having calls all day. Hang on, let me just turn that off. Right, that's just Mark. Never mind about him. Look, I've got a 1, 5 pair here and a 1, 5 pair here, looking at a little old 11 cage rather beautifully. So if we can't put 1 and 5 in there, what digits can we? What's the lowest? Well, we could put 2 and 3. That would give us 5, and then the other digit would be a 6. And there's no other way of making that work. If we try and use 4 in the total, you can't do it, because then you need the other 2 cells to add up to 7 without repeating the 4. So 3, 4 is gone. 2, 5 is impossible, and 1, 6 is impossible. So this must be 2, 3, 6, I think, because it can't have a 4 in it. Right, okay, now I'm starting to understand the title, at least, of this puzzle, because this is very clever setting. Let's just pause for a moment and understand why. In fact, I've just noticed something else at the moment of pausing, which I now can't take my eyes off. Right, let's not pause. I've just noticed I've got a 2, 3 pair here and a 2, 3 pair here. So on this diagonal, where do we put the numbers 2 and 3? We can't put them in any of those cells. And you can't put 2 and 3 in the 21 cage. Even the 3 won't work. You'd have to put double 9 in alongside it. So those 2 squares are 2 and 3. But the thing I'd noticed before, which I think is, well, I really admire it, is how this 11 cage works. Because what it does is it provides communication between this digit and this digit. Because if you think about it, whatever this digit is, we know it must exist in a 2, 3, 6 cage. So it's going to have to go there by Sudoku, because it can't go in there, or it will repeat in row 2. So this square and this square are the same. And then where do we put this digit, which is a 2 or a 3, in the 5 cage? It's going to be there. So these 3 digits are the same digit. And that's providing, well, it's not provided, it's provided by the communication that this 11 cage provide sort of, or the job it does in communicating between this 5 cage and this 5 cage. And it works in reverse, of course. This digit is going to be the same as that digit. So we get the 6 in the 11 cage, which means those 3 scrap cells must all be the same. I'll make those green. Hopefully that's not offending anyone's chromatic sensibilities. Right, okay, yeah. Where does green go in box 6? Because this 15 cage can never have a 2 or a 3 in it, so green goes here. And that provides communication to the middle 2 3s. So this one is green, and therefore that one is purple. Same logic. Where does the 2 3 go in row 1? Look, I should say, where does the purple 2 3 go? It's got to go here. So that becomes purple. Purple is now in this 11 cage, look, which is interesting. Green is in the 15 cage as well. Yeah, okay. And now let's come back to the positive diagonal and ask where purple and green go on the positive diagonal, because they're not going in any of those 6 cells. In fact, they're not going there either, because they're sort of, this cell is double whammied. It sees 2 3 and 2 3 there. So 2 and 3 must be in those squares. But I can't. Right, I was about to say I don't know what colour they are, and that's true. But now if this is a 2-3 pair, this 7 cage has got to be 1 and 6. And I can see that that's going to be interesting because that gives me a 1 on that cell and a 5 on that cell. And that via the diagonal gives me a 5 there and a 1 there. Good grief, it's a very smooth, very elegant start, this. It really is. Okay, now, just wondering if we can do any more colouring, or is this the limit of our colouring ability? No, it's not. Right, I understand. This is nice as well. Look at these 2 squares. So these 2 squares rule purple out of those squares. So purple looks like it's got 4 choices in box 4, but it doesn't. Because we know that one of the cells in the 15 cage is green. So if I was to add purple to this, then we would know 2 of the cells in the 15 cage added up to 5. And that won't work, because the other digit would then have to be a 10, which I can't put in a Sudoku. So the purple, I think, has to go there. And that's going to disambiguate these 2 squares now. So that must be purple. And this one must be green. And that means this square is not green. And this square is not purple. Which means this square is purple. And I was about to say, presumably I can do more with the greens, but maybe I can't. No, I can't, except, look at these 3 greens. They're forcing a green into the 11 cage. And therefore, I've got a green and a purple in the 11 cage. Green and purple add to 5, so this cage is a 2-3-6 cage. This is absolutely lovely. Now, I see, green is in one of those 2 cells in box 2. So we don't actually know how to resolve this one can't be 6, obviously, because we already know that this is purple. Oh dear. Okay, this might be where we start to get stuck. Let's have a think about what we do next. I must check the diagonals. That's very likely to be something I neglect. Although I have to say, I can't see immediately anything more I can do with the diagonals. What about row 2? I've effectively got 5 digits in row 2 because of the 2-3 pair, so I need to place 4, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, that restricts the 13 cage slightly. Let's look at that. The options for these 4 squares are 4, 7, 8 and 9. Now, if this 13 cage was a 4, 9 version of a 13 cage, these 3 squares would have to be made up of the 2 digits 7 and 8. Well, that will mean that one of them needs to repeat in the row, and that will be bad. So this is not 4, 9. This is either 5, 8 or 6, 7. Well, I don't know that I can tell which of those is true. Oh, bobbins. I'm not even sure. I mean, maybe I should pencil mark that actually. So this is 5, 8 or 6, 7. So 1 definitely has to appear down here. Which means 1... Yeah, okay. Which means 1 in this box. Oh, no. Right. Let us pause and come back to a 1-5 pair here, which has suddenly acquired some potency once I've focused on it. Where do 1 and 5 go in box 6? Well, the answer is not in those squares. You can't put 1 or 5 in a 15 cage without having the other digit be 10 or 14. Well, that won't work. So there's a 1-5 pair there. And that means those 2 squares, look, have to be exactly equal to a 1-5 pair. And this 1 is looking there. So that must be a 5, and that must be a 1. And now this 5 is pushing a 5 upwards into the 13 cage. So that must be 5, 8, which means those squares are not got 8 in. These are 4, 7 and 9, and this square becomes an 8. Now this 8 is interesting, because that's looking at that cage. So that's now 6, 9 and not 7 and 8. which means I've got to put 6 and 9 into those two of these three squares must be 6 and 9. Oh, I see. Yes, and okay, this square is now a naked single. Look, it's got to be a 9. We need to put a 9 into a cell in column 8, and it can only go there. So those two squares are 4 and 7, I think. And yes, and that's rather nice, because where do you put 4 and 7 in box 9? Those two squares. So these three squares now are 6, 8 and 9. Oh, I see, and now we know where the 6 goes. We've got 6 in that domino, a 6 in that domino, so those two can't be 6, and this is a 6. Which is nearly interesting, but not quite in box 1, look, using the diagonal. Now, yeah, maybe row 1, where we've got effectively 6 digits placed. We need to place 4, 6 and 7. So these squares, no, maybe not actually. 4, 6 and 7 into those squares. Yeah, okay, but yeah, because there's a 6 down here, if we look at the composition of box 2, we can see the 6 in this box has to be in one of those three squares, which rules it out of those two squares, which places it here. So that's a 6. This square is a 4 or a 7, which sees another 4 or 7 on the diagonal. So now this diagonal must be 8 and 9 into those two squares, I think. Which might be interesting. And these three squares are a 1-6 green triple, which is not a sentence you get to say every day. 1-6 green triple here. 1-6 green triple. Ah, that's confusing, isn't it? Okay. This 6 is seeing that square, so 6 and 1 go in. 1 has to be in one of those three squares. Ooh, yeah, okay. Here's something I didn't spot earlier. I've got a 2-3 pair here and a 2-3 pair here. Look at the 10 cage. It cannot have a 2 or a 3 in it. What are the three lowest numbers that are not 2 and 3? 1, 4 and 5. What do they add up to? 10. So this is 1, 4, 5. That can't be a 1. Now, here is a little thing that I'm noticing. I don't know if this is... This square is interesting immediately as a result of knowing what those three squares are. Because this square now cannot be a 1, 4 or a 5. Because this square, because of the diagonal line, it sees the whole composition of that 10 cage, which is rather cute. So this square cannot be 1, 4, 5, 2 or 3. So it's 6, 7, 8 or 9. It's not 6. I've already got a 6 on this diagonal, I've just noticed. So this is 7, 8 or 9. Okay, I don't know what I can do with that. I've got a 6 has got to be in one of those two cells. Whoopsie. I've got to remember that actually I'm going to fill in all of the known cells so that I don't get distracted by them. So these are a 2-3 pair. Oh dear. And now I feel like I'm getting stuck. Not immediately clear to me where to look next. What have we got going on in... Maybe the positive diagonal. I've got to place... Ah, yeah, okay. That's interesting. Maybe... There might be something going on with the 21 cage here. And the reason I say that is if you look at the positive diagonal, we've not placed 8 and 9 on it. So the 8 and 9 on the positive diagonal have to be in those squares in box 5. And that means I can't put 4 in the 21 cage now. Because if I put 4 into it, I'd have to put 8 and 9 into it as well. And that's impossible, given that 8 and 9 have to be in 2 of those 3 squares. So 4 is not... 4 must be in one of these 3 cells. So maybe we do some maths on this cage then. If this is 9, the other two squares add up to 12, and they can't use 8, so they'd have to be 5 and 7. If this is 8, the other two squares add up to 13, and they can't use 5, 8, and they can't use 4, 9, so they'd still be 7. So there's definitely a 7 in here. It would be 6 and 7. So one of those two squares is definitely a 7. That means that square's not a 7. That gives us an 8, 9 pair in this box look. So we can get rid of 8 and 9 as an option from row 4, column 6. 8, 9 pair. 8, look. We can now ask where 8 goes in column 6. Can't go in these 3. Can't go in these 3. So it must go in one of those 3 squares. 9. Let's ask the same question in row 4. Where does 9 go? It can't go in those 6 squares, so it must go in one of those 3 positions. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know is the answer to that. Okay. I'm stuck. Oh, no, I'm not. Look, column 8. I've just noticed I've got 6 digits in there, so those digits are known. They're 4, 7, and 8. Okay. Don't know if I can do anything with that. Wow. Wow. What else can we do here? Yes, here's a sensible question. Let's ask a question about 7 in this box. Because, yeah, or maybe the thing to note is that because 7 is off the diagonal in box 5, and it's off the diagonal in box 7, where does 7 go on this diagonal? Well, it's only got one square it can go in. It's got to be this one. So that's a 7 and that's a 4. So that's a 7, which means that's a 4 and that's a 7. Ah, yeah, okay. And now where does 7 go in box 7? The answer is only there, so that's a 7. 7 in box 8 looks like it might be okay for 2 cells. 7 in box... Oh, I thought I got a 1-7 pair. I haven't quite. 7 in box 4 is in one of those 2 squares, and I was about to get excited, but look, this square can be a 1 as well, so that is not a 1-7 pair. Oh, you rotten thing. Although this cage I've not actually done anything with yet, so perhaps this is where we look next. We've got to place 6. Yeah, here you go. Here's some logic. Yes, this is good logic. Is there a 6 in this cage? The answer is no, I don't think there is. If you put 6 with 2, you'd need the other square to be a 7, which it can't be. We know the 7's in one of those 2 squares. If you put 6 with 3, you've got to put another 6 in the cage to make it add up. So that is not 6, which means that must be 6. Oh, I thought I was going to get the 9 as well, but I'm not. The 9 is also in one of 2 positions. Ah. Oh, this is the world's most useless 6. It really is. It's done nothing. Oh. Is that possible to be a... I think that is possibly a 6. Oh, good grief. Okay, let's have a look at this 15 cage then. Oh, Alexa wants to talk to us.
Connect to your Wi-Fi network.
I don't know why. I didn't say her name. Alexa, stop. Sorry. Okay, so if this is a 2, these squares have to add up to 13 without using 6, 7, or okay, that's interesting. If this is a 2, these add up to 13. You can't put 6, 7 in, and you also can't put 4, 9 in. So they would have to be 5 and 8, and there's a 5 here. So that would be 5, this would be 8. Is that possible? Maybe. if this is 3, these have to add up to 12 without using 3, 9, or 5, 7. So they'd have... so there's always an 8 in here. 4, 8, unfortunately, looks possible both ways round. But that's still better than we were doing. Yeah, this is good. Right, now we can ask a question about where 8 goes in row 4. Because we know that the 8 is not in those 3. We know it's not in these 3 because of the 8, 9 pair. Therefore, it's in one of those 3 squares, but it's also in one of these 3 squares. And the only square that meets both of those conditions is, of course, that one. So that's an 8. Oh, this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. Because now, where does 7 go? We can ask exactly the same question in row 4. Where does 7 go? We know there's a 7 in this twosome. We know there's a 7 in that domino. So there is no 7 in any of those 6 cells. So that square has to be a 7 in row 4. And that took the position of a 9. This is not 7 anymore. So this is a 9. Oh no. This square's got to be 4 or 8. This square's got to be 4, 8 or 9, I think. I'm so surprised this doesn't sort of immediately collapse, but I don't think it does. Okay. Okay, so how do we finish this? We've got the useless cage still unpencil marked. That's all it deserves. We've got the 1, 6 green triple. We've got... What do I actually know about anything here? 4. 4 has to be in one of these cells, and 4 has to be in one of those cells. So again, this can't be a 4. We must put the 4 in row. I see, these are a 1, 4, 5 triple, aren't they? That's maybe a sensible thing to note. That can't be a 1 because of this one here. 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1. That can't be a 4. 4, 5 I've got on this diagonal. So this square can't be a 4 or a 5. I wasn't really thinking it could be, but... So this square cannot actually be 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. So this is 1, 7, 8 or 9. It's not 7, it's 1, 8 or 9. Okay. Now, is this doing anything? Ooh, that cell's interesting. That cell's interesting because look, it's got a friend in one of these 2 cells of this domino is definitely the same as that. So where does this digit go in row 8 of the grid? Well, it's going to have to go in this little square, so that's not an 8. So those 2 squares are the same digit, which is definitely worth highlighting, I think. So this is a 4 or a 5. There's a 4, 5 pair in column 6 now, so that's not a 4. I was about to say I might colour the 4s and 5s, but I don't actually think that's a sensible idea because this 4, you know, we know that this is not the same as these 2 simply because of the diagonal and the column. We don't really know much else. I don't know which of those is going to be the other 4 or 5 unless I'm missing a trick. I'm not sure what the weak digit is here. It could be 4s and 5s, but I don't think it is. Could be 8s and 9s. 8s and 9s maybe. Can I colour 8s and 9s somehow? Doesn't look very appetising to do that, I have to say. Oh. Good grief. Right, okay. Okay, look, one of those 2 squares is an 8. Well, let me tell you, it's not this one. Because if it's this one, what happens? Let's actually just do it. If that's 8, that's 9, and on this diagonal, that's 8. And now we have a big problem down here, because we have to put an 8 into one of those 3 squares where it definitely cannot go. So we had to use you just have to use the diagonal there. I just didn't see it. So this square is not 8. So this means this is 8. Oh yeah, okay. That means that's a 9. That's an 8. That's a 9. 9 now lives in the useless domino down there. This 9 is giving us a 9 and a 6 over here. That means this is not a 6. Now, have we learned anything more about the world from this? The answer is I'm not sure yet. This 8 is useful. It's giving me an 8 and a 5 up there. This 5 is useful. It's giving me a 7 here, which means that's a 7 and that's a 4. This is no longer a 4. I'm not saying anything yet. I'm not saying anything until I actually think we've cracked it, which I'm far from sure we have. Oh, is this square purple? Yes, it is. That's probably been available for ages, and probably people have been getting cross with me. But I would be very surprised if it does anything, because we effectively... I'm about to gainsay myself. No, I don't think this does anything. So anyone who's been shouting at me about not penciling this, what exactly has this given me? Answer, nothing. No. Gives me a 2-3 pair here. 1, 4, 5. Oh, that's not 7, is it? Okay. So that gives me 1s, 4s, 5s and 6s to place. Well, let's use the 21 cage. That would be a sensible thing to do. Let's just make that cage add up. So that's got to be a 6. So where does the 6 go in the 11 cage? There, which means there must be a 6 here, which means we've reduced this triple to a 1 green pair. And we know the order, because this 6 is definitely not a 2 or a 3. So this is the 2 or the 3, which means that is a 2 or a 3. And it's not therefore a 1, and this square's a 1. And it's not green. So this square's not... look, yeah, there we go. This square's not a 1, and now the 10 cage, we know where the 1 goes in it. It goes here, which means that's a 5, and that's a 1. And this is now a 4. It sees a 5 above it. That's a 5. This is a 4, therefore that's a 4. And hopefully that's a 5. We've done that. We've done everything on the diagonals apart from the purple and the green. This square here is definitely not a 9, so it's a 4 or a 7. And look, yeah, okay. Where does 4 go in this column? It's got to go there. 4, 7. This square's not a 4. It's definitely not a 7 either. So that's 9. That's 7. One of these two squares is a 9, where it's joining its friend the 8. So this is now an 8-9 pair. And that means that square's got to be the 1. I think we might have done all the 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we've not put the 1 in here. Now we might have done them all. Good, we've done all the 1s. This square's got to be an 8 or a 9. Oh, I bet you this turns out to be an 8-9 pair, which is another reason that Pietato might have decided not to give this to cage total, because obviously an 8-9 pair in a cage is a sort of gimme right at the start. This 8's giving me an 8 here. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. This is now a 9. And what's going on? Okay. So these two squares have got to be 5 and 8, which we can do. That 5 is giving me a 4 here, and I can see what that's done. That's going to be incredibly useful. I think we're down, we're very nearly down to just being able to use Sven's software to finish this with aplomb. The 15 cage is the final trick, isn't it? We've now got 12 there, so green is 3 to make 15. Boom. Purple is therefore 2. And that should have finished the puzzle. Let's see. Yeah, that's a really clever puzzle. It really is beautiful. The whole logic at the start around the 2s and 3s being connected or coordinated via this 11 cage is gorgeous. It really is. And then what did I like then? I really liked, yes, I know what it was. I figured out that there was a green, I think, in one of those two squares, and therefore there couldn't also be a purple. And that sort of did some stuff down here. And after that, it didn't get easy. I liked the fact that I could use, once I knew what this triple was, I could eliminate it from that square. I don't know if that was important. I didn't like the fact I didn't realise this was purple, but it didn't matter, so forgive me. But I think that this is definitely a puzzle that Maki Kaji would have enjoyed, and that is no more fitting thing on this day of all days. So let me know in the comments how you got on, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.